6:30 on August 23rd for the regular board meeting of the Vernon Hills Park Board of Commissioners. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Kessler. Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Moline.
Here.
Commissioner Blue.
Present.
President Dorhoefer.
Here, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda this evening is the omnibus vote agenda. Items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered routine and/or non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. If a separate vote on any one item is desired, it will be pulled from the omnibus vote agenda and voted on separately. Items included in the omnibus vote agenda for this evening are the minutes of the regular board meeting dated July 18th, 2018, payables Les Granger, and payroll through August 23rd, 2018, in the amount of $1,201,806.39. Could I have a motion to approve the omnibus vote agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
Commissioner Blue.
Yes.
President Dorhoefer.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is financial reports for the period ending July 31st. Marla, any changes, additions to the financial report?
All good.
They're on file. Next item is the welcome to visitors and guests, public comment period. The first people I'd like to up, Jack Mulcroon. Jack, if you'd like to come up, you brought a partner with you.
His brother, he can introduce himself.
If you could introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Okay, hi, I'm Jack Mulcrone. I'm a senior at Vernon Hills High School.
I'm Devin Mulcrone, and I'm a freshman at Vernon Hills High School.
And we have this video presentation for you about a concept we've been working on outside of school. So far, we've presented it to the school and to the village board, and we've gotten support from both. So please watch and let us know your thoughts.
Hi, my name is Jack Mulcrone, a junior at Vernon Hills High School. Hi, my name is Devin Mulcrone, an 8th grader at Hawthorne Middle School South. And we have an idea that will empower our community and revolutionize the way we use energy. Here at the Vernon Hills Complex, there's always one constant. It's just too windy. We also noticed that our coaches always waited until the last minute to turn the lights on because they knew how expensive it was to run them. So that got us thinking, what if we could use this wind to power our athletic facilities? And what if we could create something that we can use to teach our community about natural energy? The Vernon Hills Energy Farm. Vertical wind turbines to capture the wind and harvest electricity for evening sporting events. An energy education and research classroom with a solar panel array, rainwater harvesting system, geothermal heating, composting washrooms, and interactive teaching display systems. At this point, you're probably thinking a few things. 1, it's a great idea. 2, do these students have any idea how this can get done? Yes, we have a multi-step solution for that. Get our school district and local government to support our concept so we can take it to the next level. Establish a non-profit charitable organization to start our fundraising efforts. Ask VHHS parents to donate their professional expertise to design, engineer, and build our unique energy and research facility. Architects, engineers, attorneys, contractors, accountants, and scientists. Get to know our county, state, and federal representatives and introduce them to a winning bipartisan deal. Have our new political friends assist us in applying for and obtaining state and federal energy grants. Ask dozens of Vernon Hills and Lake County corporations and businesses to donate funds, sponsor the purchase of solar panels or wind turbines, and be a part of our amazing idea. Let's get it built. Develop an app for teachers and students to monitor in real time how much wind and solar energy we are producing, as well as how much energy costs the Vernon Hills Energy Farm is offsetting. Encourage all local schools to visit our world-class energy facility on field trips. Students will experience earth science and energy research in action. Our community will become a precedent for science, technology, education, and research for future generations of students. We can make this happen by simply asking, what if we're all willing to do
Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope you're encouraged to ask yourselves, what if?
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
The 10 worst cities in Minnesota. Explain. Do you have any comments before we start grilling you?
I guess no. Tell us what you tell us what you think of the presentation, and any steps that we could do going forward. How you could help us.
Any questions?
It's an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really, really nice job. So you mentioned that you showed a whole bunch of companies there that are interested. What's your discussion been with them? How are they involved?
The companies that were in the video,
Yes.
we have not reached out to them yet.
Okay.
But we have contacted engineers and professors at a couple universities around here, and we've heard back. We haven't heard back yet, but they are willing to, hopefully can help us with that, yeah.
Okay. What's this cost?
Well, the approximate cost for one of these turbines would be around $15,000 a piece.
Okay. What does the school, the village, do you know roughly what the cost is put into, how much they spend on energy, keeping the lights on all the time out there?
The lights cost approximately $60 an hour to run.
Do you have any idea how many hours they're actually running?
I do not know the exact number, no,
Okay, and that's all the lights or per ball field?
for both. Each light, $60 an hour, I think, yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
So so you have not approached any of these companies?
Not yet.
And what is your plan? Why are you going to these companies? Just to, for funding?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know that there's tax credits regarding the building of this and whatever. I don't know if that's in your presentation to get these companies to help, fund this operation. If that's in your scenario to, maybe make it easier to get more monies from them.
Definitely. Okay.
What, you said each turbine would cost 15. How many do you anticipate? I mean, what do you anticipate the total cost of this to be, roughly?
The exact cost, we haven't.
Yeah, I mean, a ballpark. I mean, I'm assuming you've said, okay, we need X number of turbines. We're gonna get a solar panel this big that's gonna generate this many kilowatts or whatever.
Yes. In our layout, we have approximately 20 turbines.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's 30, that's 300,000 right there.
Yeah.
What do you think the solar panel would cost? It's okay, if you don't know, I'm not trying to, it's not a test, I mean, I'm okay.
No.
I'm just curious if you had a,
No, we do not know the cost of this.
Okay.
No.
There's currently a lot of very good companies out there that are doing solar energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a current new law in Illinois where you can put it on your house for free. You got companies that'll come in and put it up for free and help get off the ComEd grid. I think this is great. Guys, I thought the presentation was great. How can we help you? Clearly, we've got some
Yes.
contacts with some of the companies that
Yes.
we saw. Can certainly help you that way, but
Yes.
what can we do to help you? It's a great idea.
like get approval to build everything and place it where it is.
And also some advice, like what tentative steps would you recommend we take next? Given your expertise with zoning.
How big is your group so far? Is it just the two of you?
So,
Have you organized anything at this point? I mean, I know that's early in the process, so maybe you're not that far, but I'm just curious if you have.
right now, we're working to
core.
partner with a club at my school called VH2O. It's our environmental club, and also we've been talking with David Brown at the village board and our principal John Dealian.
Okay. So they certainly have my support as one vote.
The other agencies that you went to visit, how receptive were they?
We do not know yet.
Okay, you said you did this in front of the village?
Oh, yes, they were all very supportive of our idea and have offered to help us.
So those check marks were real check marks?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
With us being the only one that didn't have a check mark?
You can put a check mark next to us in the video.
Yeah.
Let us know, let's talk more offline, because
Okay,
I think there are some steps that you can take next
Okay.
to network, to start going. Have you had conversations with Terry Link, Carol Sente?
With Carol Sente, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, with Carol you have?
Yes.
Okay, we can get you hooked up with Senator Link.
Oh, thank you.
No problem, that's an easy call. We can get you hooked up with some of these companies that are out there, but let's talk about how we put together a powerful presentation, because when you go to companies for something like this,
Yes.
it's gonna be what's in it for them,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
And so we need to make sure that we're putting this in their odds are, that when they look at it, they say, hey, it's a win for, pick a company, I know it's CDW, Hotel Registry, Granger, my personal company. They're gonna look at it and go, okay, it's a great project, but what do we get out of it?
Okay.
How do we get benefit? How do we get community involvement? How do we get, what's in it for us? So,
And you probably wanna crunch the numbers a little more too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? How many kilowatts do the lights use? How many does each turbine produce? X equals Y as far as,
Okay.
how much they cost and what they save, and, cause even if it's not a full win, if you're doing this with sponsorship, then you need X amount of sponsorship money. You're doing it to teach kids, so there's more to it than just, is it a financially correct thing to do just from a financial standpoint, because you have other reasons why this would be a good idea.
Thank you.
From a green standpoint, from a teaching standpoint, all of that. So that may be worth enough that even if it's gonna cost $500,000, but we're only gonna save $300,000 over the next 20 years, but $200,000 over 20 years is only $10,000 a year to teach kids and to take us off the grid or whatever. Those are the kind of things you might wanna sit down and add to your it was a great presentation. I just want you to know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's why I mentioned, looking into and doing some research on those tax credits, and again, as Mike said, if it's $500,000 to build it, I think it's also important to put in your presentation, what's my return on my investment? If we invest $500,000, what is our annual savings?
Okay.
What would that be, and what is my return on that $500,000? I think it's, companies would like to see that.
Okay. Thank you.
any discussion with Stevenson, right across the street?
Yes, so our principal contacted the people there, and they will be getting back to us. There's a retired teacher that likes to deal with energy things like this, and so.
Do you know who it is?
No, not yet.
Probably taught Dave, that's why he wants to know. If
I-
he's retired.
He's retired, I bet you he
For
taught
many
me.
years he's been retired, if it was Dave's teacher though.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay. But yeah, that contact.
Yeah, we've got some contacts there as well. He's probably going through the principal. I can get you into the business office there, which would be more suited to what this is trying to do. So, great job, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Do you have an architect for this?
An architect?
I was just joking.
Okay. Thank you.
So if I would just ask for,
Really nice job,
really
guys.
nice. Since James Kim, who's our park superintendent, James heads up our environmental committee for the park district. He'd be a good guy, Jack and Devin, that you guys should, he can give you his card. He can give you his card, and just like where you're working with Dave Brown from the village, James would be our resource, from the village to assist you with that. And then from anything, as President Dorhofer alluded to, relative to community sponsorships or corporate sponsorships, we have a staff member that works really closely with all those entities in Vernon Hills and can probably at least get your foot in the door because she has, you know, solid relationships with them already. So just echoing the board's comments, you guys have done a fantastic job, and let's keep this thing going. Okay? You're welcome.
Very nice job. Currently staying on public comment period. Is there anybody else who would wish to address the board at this time? Next item on the agenda, unfinished business. Seeing as we have none, we will move on to new business. The U.S. tennis contract. Could I have a motion to convert 2 tennis courts in the Deer Path into pickleball courts and award the contract to U.S. Tennis of Lockport, Illinois in the amount not to exceed $23,825?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Would anybody like to comment, address the board on this? No?
We're excited if you're passing it.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question. What's the temperature of the mood? Are we for or against?
For.
Okay. I don't know if you're tennis or if you're pickleballers.
I'm both.
Okay. Discussion.
I think somewhere along the line, there was a discussion of the number of courts. Is that something we need to bring up or adjust or anything to?
Yeah, the motion that you have before you for the 23,825 is for 6 courts.
Okay. 4 courts.
6 courts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the motion is for 6.
The motion you have
For
for
23 is for all
U.S.
6.
tennis, for
then they
U.S.
would upgrade
tennis is for 6
Diagram.
courts.
I see the diagram, but
The quote is.
So that would be taking the 2 existing courts, running north and south, and putting 3 courts spaced properly. For those of you that play pickleball in the Sullivan Center, the distance would be, currently there's 7 feet separating pickleball court to pickleball court in the gymnasium. It would be, I believe it's 10 or 11 feet on the tennis court, or on the pickleball court if we go outside. And then there would be 9 feet from the back line. What do you call it, service line?
Basically.
Service line to the fence behind would be 9 feet. There will be a fence between north and south courts. There will not be individual fences between, because to put those up, A, it's a money. And B, it becomes, if you keep them too low, which you don't want them too high because you actually in play, now it becomes a trip hazard. So we would put a 7-foot fence.
That's your next motion.
That's my next motion. Getting ahead of myself, but the option is to put a 7-foot fence right behind to make sure no balls.
Fence. Yeah, your motion is for 4 foot. Yeah.
7 works better.
And I just want to say, I spent last week or 2 researching a little bit, and I spent about half of today researching, and I'm amazed at how fast park districts in our area, government entities in our area, I just learned today that Buffalo Grove's putting 6 more courts in. They already have 4, and they're putting 6 more courts in, and that's just Buffalo Grove.
Have you seen the ones in Old Plain? They have 8 new ones there. They're very nice. They're all fed. They all have separate.
It's Gurney Park District.
I went to go up there, somebody told me the other day that they have a really good program.
Right inside, just before you get to Washington.
Yeah, I stopped at the Libertyville at the sports complex in Libertyville and talked to somebody there. They've got a very extensive program there. I went over to Grays Lake at Beam Park there and saw the 3. They built all that whole park. There's not a tennis court in it, and there's 3 pickleball courts. I found that interesting.
With 10 feet of space, 12 feet of space in between each court, how often is the ball going to cross from one court to another?
All the time.
Depends
on the level of play.
It's very common playing pickleball. All you do is yell ball, and even if you're in the middle of playing, you stop playing. So we're so used to it, it's no big deal. I mean, it's nice that you have a defense that they don't go, there's 6 courts, you have 6. Well, with 3, it's very common for that to happen. Even as you saw at Bean Park, they just have 3, but they're not separated by fences.
Now, listen, it's very common in tennis. The ball always goes from, one court to the next, so.
The way you play. No, I can tell the board that I have been, over the last 45 days, been to Deer Path Park.
Every day, every night, because I get the texts.
A good 30 times over the last month and a half. And I've seen the courts all used twice. And just so we're fully transparent, one of the things we will be doing, we have talked to, and don't get excited, tennis people, let me get the whole statement out. We have talked to the high school, and the high school has agreed to allow the Park District to move our lessons into the tennis courts at the high school.
Vernon Hills High School.
Vernon Hills High School. They won't allow us to open those up for the public. That is something high school is not supportive of. But they have agreed that since the Park District will be monitoring, we can move our tennis lessons, which will free up those courts at Deer Path that we were using for tennis lessons for 1, 2, or 3 hours at a time. Those will be off, freeing up some more courts. So further, no discussion. Could I have a motion to award?
I already have the motion.
We already motion.
In a second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Baloo?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Meline?
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer?
Yes, we have a pickleball court.
So
Could I-
those will be scheduled to commence right after Labor Day.
Week after Labor Day is when this all will start. Pickleball fence contract. Could I have a motion to award the fence Action Fence of Mundelein, the contract for pickleball fencing in the amount of $6,600?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. 4-foot fence?
It's a 4-foot fence with a 3-foot gate in the center of the way it's laid out right now. So there's a small gate that you can walk through.
So I guess,
Runs the whole perimeter, the whole width. It's 104 linear feet.
so I have a question for the pickleballers. So these courts that are back to back, we're gonna have this fence that separates the 3 and the 3? And right now it's designated to be 4 feet high?
Yeah, picture this.
Is that high enough?
It's a little higher than what you see here in front of you. I think This is,
They're about little 4.
this is
4 and a half feet
42,
high.
so imagine 48.
For the dividing the courts.
So you don't need a taller one is what we're asking.
We had talked to Northfield and they had put in the 7-foot. They had talked about 4-foot. They put in 7 and said they're glad they did.
So we're asking.
Go for it then.
Well, it's more money, so let's make sure we need these things, so.
I mean, yeah, I mean. there's a
How often does the
possibility
ball-
of getting onto the other
No.
courts, but the 7 on it's just not gonna happen as often. But usually it's the courts that don't have any fence at all where you.
Side to side is more than back to back. I mean, you're not gonna hit a ball so far that it's gonna go 10 feet over the baseline and over a 4-foot fence. Once in a blue moon.
Okay.
Yeah, then we
Roll call?
don't need to spend the money.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Baloo?
Yes.
Commissioner Meline?
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer?
Yes. Next item on the agenda, varsity vending contract renewal. Could I have a motion to extend the current varsity vending contract for 3 years for services through August 2021?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Discussion.
Dave, I just want to, make sure, for example, at the Lakeview Fitness Center, that our snacks that we have in our, especially there, are healthy foods and healthy snacks. I don't know what the breakdown is of the snacks and,
It depends. I like Snicker bars are pretty healthy to me.
The problem, Bruce, is you can put all that in, but
Yep.
the vending machine companies
buy it.
don't like it because they don't sell.
Nobody
You know what I
buys it.
mean? If you ask a vending company to do just that, I don't even know if they'd want the contract because they're not gonna sell enough to even bother. I mean, you can certainly add some things. They do that anyway, there'll
And
be
we always
baked
have,
chips and,
maybe like 20% of the
Yeah,
selection.
right.
That there's always some items, and Dennis is pretty good about being willing to change things out for us. If there's a request,
He may be good at changing up, but he's not good at keeping machines full.
okay? Can we pass it along?
This one out here was virtually empty last night.
Yeah, camps. He's here every day in the summer with day camps, because they clean it out. But I would tell you, he's been very attentive here.
They've been preferred by the staff, because they're probably, like our 4th company now since I've been here, and they've been the most receptive.
So the pricing, did you establish?
there was some
Did you
small-
establish the pricing?
What?
Do you establish the pricing?
No, the vendor does.
Well, when we did the first 3-year contract, we worked out the pricing, and this time he
In terms
had
of
very
the
minimal
percentages.
No, not the percentages. I was actually looking at the prices of the
Yeah,
products.
they went up a little bit on a couple.
thought it was pretty
couple
cheap,
few
actually,
items.
you know.
There's a couple items that they went up.
You can make more money.
Well, theoretically, because you're getting a percentage, it depends what the park district wants as part of what
Honestly,
governs
we
the
do not
price.
make it's more, because we used to do
more of a
our issues
service.
ourselves in the Sullivan Center, it's more just helpful
Mm-hmm.
that our staff doesn't have to do it, not a big moneymaker.
Okay, fair enough.
Roll call.
Commissioner Baloo?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Meline?
Yes,
President Dorhoeffer?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is conduct ordinance review. Could I have a motion to amend conduct ordinance, Chapter 3, motorized vehicles, parking and traffic control, Section 2.02, mini bike, I'm sorry, 3.02, I'm sorry, mini bikes, trail bikes, and scooters to read, no person shall ride, drive, or otherwise operate any mini bike, trail bike, ATV, electric bicycle, motorized scooter, or motorized bike on Park District property. For the purpose of this section, every motorized vehicle which is self-propelled by power obtained by either the combustion engine or by electric battery is prohibited.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
yes. What prompted this? I mean, I know, and I should have talked to you a little bit before, Jeff, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But
Motorized.
I am a little taken aback by it. I read it and then I spaced it before the meeting, but
So the only thing that's changed is the motorized bicycles.
no, and I
now
understand,
that
but
have become
do we
prominent.
all understand what an e-bike is before we ban it? Because, you know, an e-bike can be a combination pedal
Right.
and battery assist. And for an older person, that's what they would write, you know what I mean? An older person might not be
And
able
this-
to bike,
this
but they can
came-
bike with an e-bike. An e-bike maybe uses, you can't just ride an e-bike for an hour straight because the battery won't hold. Yet we're prohibiting somebody from riding on our trails when maybe they're with their two younger, whatever, people.
Yeah, so this was brought to us by the village and the police department, because there have been a lot of instances in the parks with these e-bikes where people are doing 25, 30 miles an hour. They end up being motorized and people are complaining about it, and the police department are very concerned about it from a safety standpoint, so that's why we're proposing.
I mean, you could ride a road bike through at 25 miles an hour if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, so if people are gonna be stupid, they don't have to have an e-bike to be stupid. I'm just a little, like I said, just because, maybe it's because I'm getting old and I kid my wife, I wish she was still here, she left already, but I kid my wife all the time because she is a very avid biker, I'm not. And if we're ever gonna get together on the same page someday and go bike somewhere, it'll probably be with me on an e-bike and her on a regular bike. And my use would be, okay, here comes a hill. Push the button up the hill, now I'll pedal again. And we're preventing people from even entering our parks in a situation like that.
We have like motorized scooters that we got at Sam's, and I scooted over last night to watch the boys run at cross country rather than driving my car. So it's because the bears and everything, a lot of traffic, and I scooted over and I scooted back, and it goes, I don't know, 8 miles an hour, but I'd like to be able to do that, it's kind of fun. Do you have a speed limit restriction on that?
Well, Illinois statute is 25. Yeah. Well, we don't, but Illinois set the standard.
But we all know that the ones zipping by are not going 25 miles an hour. I've
There's
seen
no,
them, I've seen them doing 45, 50 down
yeah,
down the road.
yes, and that's probably Lakeview or part of Fairview. That's where they've been
You're
saying.
talking e-bikes or just scooters?
No, these are electric bikes.
And they're-
Yeah, and these guys aren't even pedaling anymore. I mean, they're using them like motorcycles. We're having the same problem with the Forest Reserve right now with our trails. They've found that they've become the way for guys to go to work in the morning. They're commuters that used to bike. Now they've all got electric ones. They're zipping around the trails and they're.
But here's another example. I get a bike because I want to go to the train station. What's the fastest way to the train station? From Deer Path, let's say, up the path or across the bridge. Now what? Now you're gonna stick me out on the street and I'm gonna screw around with traffic because I'm not allowed on the I'm not allowed off the street with it. So, I don't know.
How big a problem is it?
It's obvious if the police department is working through the village through us to prohibit it. So it's obviously a concern for them. That's why they brought it to our attention.
It's three main parks. It's Peterson to Century, and then Deer Path and Fairway. That's where they've seen the most activity. That path from Deer Path to Garbanian over to Stone Fence, it's narrow, and that's where we've had a lot of e-bike, pedestrian complaints the most.
So,
And you've had regular bike complaints with pedestrians. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
some
already dealt with
regular
that.
bike, yeah, they can go 35 if you're really going fast. I mean, there's a hill there too. Kids, they try to go as fast as they can.
I don't know.
So-
I apologize for being
No.
this late in the
No,
discussion, but
so
It's all good discussion.
everything's already banned except for e-bikes, just adding the e-bike.
Correct.
So her scooter that she went over on yesterday is,
She should have been fined. And
oh, we got it on tape now. No. Yeah, no,
No,
it already, scooters are already, this is just adding e-bikes. Scooters are already a no-no. And we've got you on tape, so. Good luck with that.
Even kids who were riding their bikes to school, some of them have a motor, battery powered scooters to
Right.
get to school.
Exactly.
Mr. Lugan has one, isn't he? He lives in Deer Path and commutes to Vernon Hills High School. He's got a
So my question is, you can't ban it, because how do you ban a bike? You can ban the use of the motorized piece. But can you really ban a motorized bike?
Well, the ordinance, states combustion of gasoline or by electricity battery.
I understand, but I can ride an e-bike and not have the motor on.
Correct.
you know, a lot of them don't even look, I mean, you know, they look like old-fashioned bikes or
Well, yeah,
whatever.
the motor,
They're-
the battery's all in
Yeah,
the,
it's
in the frame
in the-
now. I'm torn. Bruce?
Mike comes up with some great comments. I'm gonna vote no.
Well, we're in discussion yet.
And I'm not, I would just like maybe, and I apologize again, but I would maybe like a little more information or something, because I am hesitant for the reasons I already mentioned.
What other information? I mean, I don't know how I can get you anything, Mike, other than, I don't know that the police are issuing citations or,
Okay. I guess even as far as how strong a recommendation is this, how big a problem is it? Are they gonna be terribly upset with the park district because we told them they recommended this and we said no? I mean, cause I wanna get along with the police department, I mean, I wanna get along with every village
James, you wanna weigh in on anything?
entity.
Well, they won't enforce the current code because it doesn't specify electric bike or e-bike, even though it says electric battery or propelled combustion, powered by either combustion or electricity bike. So the police department would like clarity on e-bike or electric bike, so that when or if the bike goes off a fairway through Arbor Theater and comes into Deer Path, which is the route that they've been finding, they can do something
So
about
is
it.
the village already, cause obviously they own the Arbor Theater, have they already created a ordinance that this does not allow an e-bike on Arboretum property or in the VHAC?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know if they
High
have.
school paths? Okay.
I don't know if
Cause
they
even
have.
if we did that, it wouldn't stop anybody on the other side of Fairway or, on the VHAC side of Fairway, the high school side of Fairway, that's none of that, none of those paths are.
Okay, let me work on some things over the next 30 days before we meet again in September. So let's just table it for tonight, and I'll get a little more information and bring it back to you in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, announcement. The December 2018 regular park board meeting, we are going to change it from December 20th to December 13th.
We need a motion.
Should.
We should? Okay, motion, should I have a motion to change the regular park board meeting from December 20th to December 13th?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Blue?
Yeah.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Meline?
Oh, wait, no, yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next item is the 2019-2023 master plan. The Park District Master Plan is a planning document that focuses on parks and facilities. The district is in the initial stages of updating this plan for 2019 through 2023. Any members of the public that would like to comment or discuss on this plan are welcome to welcome to contact Executive Director Jeff Fugere. The current master plan document is posted on the district website. So if you're interested in helping us plan for the next 5 years, call Jeff. Next item on the agenda is the GRNE solar presentation. Could I have Eric come up to the podium?
You all are welcome to stay. These are solar presentations now that we're getting into, if you're here for that, if you're interested in that.
Funny how that worked out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know, Jeff, or if you guys want it, whatever you want to do. This might be pertinent, so. How are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Sure.
It's all yours?
Great. Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Eric Peterman. I own the company GRNE Solar. We do solar development across the Midwest. Our Illinois office is located in Palatine, so it's a short drive from here.
Hold on one second.
Yes.
Are we gonna get the same overhead?
Presentation?
Thank you, go ahead.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure, no problem. We've been working with James and talking for a while now, and looking at the possibility of doing solar on one or multiple of the facilities for the Park District. And today we're looking at the maintenance facility, and we've got a proposal that we've been working on for a while, and we were happy to present it to you. I know James has been working on this for quite a number of months, and I believe it was discussed maybe briefly at the last board meeting. So there were some questions that were posed, and today we've provided some responses for those questions. And if there are more questions that come up, we'd be happy to address. But we think this is a great opportunity for the Park District to save a lot of money with zero capital expenditure on the front end of it. So that's a quick high level, but we'll work through it, and please stop me at any time if you have questions. If I click, will it advance the slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Click the right one.
It's too close. You can advance it for me if you want, James. Our company's done solar development for the past 7 years across the Midwest. We have 3 locations, Indiana, Illinois, and Nebraska, with most of our work being in Illinois. There's a lot of good incentives right now in the state of Illinois for solar development. You've probably seen a lot of solar projects come through in the news. Like I said, there's a great opportunity for what's called a power purchase agreement, where it's a $0 investment for the facility, and you pay a reduced rate for your electricity from what you're paying to ComEd or Constellation right now. So I'll run through some of the questions that I think were posed at the last meeting. James passed them on to our team, and we've got some responses here. So like I said, feel free to stop me at any time if there's additional questions or clarification needed. One of the first questions was how much can we save versus our current provider? And James has provided me some of the past bills from ComEd/Constellation that you guys are with right now. And as an average, just on the avoided energy rate, it's about 7 cents per kilowatt hour. And now if you add in the capacity charges, it's actually a little bit higher. But we've boiled it down to just what is the energy that we can offset by adding solar to your facility. And that's about 7 cents a kilowatt hour right now. And what we've proposed is a rate of 4.85 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's a 30% reduction or 30% savings off of the electric rate that you're at right now. So what does that mean in terms of dollars? What we look at is over the life cycle of the project, which is 25 years. The products are warranted for 25 years. The solar panels, almost every solar panel in the market today has a production warranty of 25 years. So over the next 25 years with the system that we've proposed, you would save about $138,000. Now, if you divide that by 25, that looks like roughly $5,500 a year is what you're saving for putting solar on the top of your maintenance facility for $0 up front. Now, one of the questions that was asked, and it's commonly asked, is how do we make money on the deal? And there are a lot of good incentives right now that are available from the federal level and from the state level that help make solar development terrific financial investment today. They're listed here. The investment tax credit is a 30% federal tax credit. Now, being a nonprofit or a government agency without tax liability, the best way to structure the deal is use an investor who can benefit from the tax credit and then offer you in return a reduced energy rate for it. So the tax credit is 30% of the system cost. The second bullet point item is depreciation. If any of you are businessmen, you'll know depreciation very well. Products that you buy or equipment that you buy, you can depreciate over time the value of that equipment. Same thing for the solar energy system. So there's tax value that's included in that as well. The third one is a very complicated program in Illinois. It's called a Solar Renewable Energy Credit, or SREC for short. And what that is each unit of renewable energy that you produce, there's a virtual credit that comes along with that, and you can actually sell those credits for monetary value. So the utility companies will buy these credits so that they can say that they've produced the energy and add it to their portfolio. Because if they don't produce a certain amount of renewable energy, then they get penalized and they get fined for that. So what they're willing to do is, instead of spend the capital cost of building their own facilities, they're incentivizing people to build the facilities their own and then claiming the credit so that they can add it to their portfolio of production. So it's, like I said, it's a complicated program, and when you boil it all down, what it means is monetary value to the end consumer. And that's all detailed in the financial breakout that we've had. And then the last bullet point there, obviously, what we do is provide the upfront capital to install the system. We get the benefit from the incentive programs, and then we can make a little bit of money from the energy that you guys pay for that's produced from the solar energy that's produced. Now, one thing I'll say, too, is just to make sure we're on the same page, the solar energy that's produced is tied right into the utility grid at the facility. So the energy that you normally would use is reduced by the amount of solar that you produce. So it's a 1-to-1. So if you produce 1,000 kilowatt hours, that directly offsets your bill by 1,000 kilowatt hours. Does that make sense? Excellent. So how much energy is produced was one of the other questions that James passed on. So what we use is a third-party modeling system that does all of the math and calculations for us. This is not our tool. This is a third party, so it's not something that we've made up. It's shown here, the visual. This is about a 100 kilowatt system, and what that means is the amount of power that it can output. The yearly production is 125,000 kilowatt hours. So that's all taken into account from the equipment that we're using, the geography of the system, where is it at in the US, what does that look like from a weather standpoint, how much sun do you get in this area of the world, the tilt of the modules, what angle are they at, how much soiling do you anticipate from dirt, snow, etc. All of that is baked into the calculations for the energy that's produced for this system. Any questions on those items?
Just a quick one, Eric, on that. So you talk about dirt, obviously, you know, some of those kind.
Sure.
Do you guys maintain that, like, annually? Do you have cleaning on it, et cetera? Is that
Right,
part of the
yeah.
contract?
So in this arrangement, we own the equipment on the facility, so all of the maintenance is on us. So we care, we're in the same boat, that we want to produce as much energy as we can because it saves you guys the most amount of energy, but that's also part of our revenue stream as well. So we're gonna do our best to make sure that it's producing at the optimal level. So as you can see at the bottom there, the last point was this amount of energy that's expected to be produced will offset about 60%, 60 to 70% of your annual consumption right now. So you'll still have, 30 to 40% that you're paying to the utility provider, but we're offsetting 60 to 70% from the solar energy that would be produced from the solar panels. Some of the other questions were around the lease and what terms are on the lease. And as I mentioned, 25 years is kind of the typical term. And I know that scares people because who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years, and certainly understand that. The reason why 25 years is the term is because a lot of that coincides with the warranties for the products. These solar panels are expected to produce energy for the next 25 years, and they're guaranteed to do that. And also that helps with our financial return. When we bake in the numbers for the financial model, we see a long-term perspective. We're not installing this today and expecting to remove it in the next 5 years. The products that we install are guaranteed for the next 25 years, so that's the reason why that's the typical duration of the lease. Now, I know, especially in a board like this, that committing to such a long-term commitment is somewhat concerning. There are several outs that are available, and we've listed the potential opportunities here. So because of the way that the IRS writes the tax credit for solar and for some of the investment tax credits that are available, is that you have to maintain ownership for 5 full years. So what that means is if you were to decommission the system in the first 5 or 6 years, the first full 5 years, we would lose the value from the tax credit. We would have to pay that back to the federal government. So it's really, that's kind of the most pertinent timeline is the first full 5 years. So that's why usually the buyout options occur after year 6. So you're paying $0 up front for us to install it, but if for some reason in the future you wanted to buy the system, you're able to do that at any time after year 6. Now, what's the cost is usually the next question. Now, it's hard for us to tell you what the cost is today because the IRS regulates that as well. It prevents the situation of us installing it for free and selling it to you for $10 and making it what's called a sweetheart deal. Now, that would allow us to benefit from the tax credit, and there could be some, behind-the-scenes money exchange. That's what they're trying to prevent. So what they've written into the IRS code is that you have to do it at a fair market value. So let's say year 6, year 10, whatever the time frame is, you'd like to purchase the system. What would happen would be we would go and get an assessor who would evaluate the system, tell you how much it's worth, and then you could purchase it for that amount. Sell it, and then you're done with the 25-year contract, and you can do whatever you want with the system. That's probably the most common out. If you wanted to pay off the remaining electricity that is anticipated for the 25-year term, we could do that calculation, and you could pay us off for the remaining 25 years, then it's yours. If you happen to be moving, or if you have to be selling the property, we could transition the PPA to the new owner. Or if you're moving facilities to a new location, we could use the equipment at your new location. It would just be your responsibility for the labor costs. That's one that I wouldn't recommend, but I just want you to know that that is a possibility. Now, a few items to note on those opportunities are, like I said, the fair market value. The dollar amount will be provided from a third-party assessor, and that's what would be the fair market value assessment. And then also that renewable energy credit incentive that I mentioned, there's an obligation to that for 15 years. So just like the tax credit in the first 5 years, if you were to buy the system out in the first 15 years, there would be some recourse on the incentive money for that. But those are the only two binding incentives. Now, those were the main questions that we had. I know I ran through that pretty quickly, but hopefully you guys had a chance to view this ahead of time. I'll take a pause because I know I've been throwing some information at you, but if there are any questions or other items that you'd like for us to talk through, I'd be happy to do that.
I have a question. Since obviously we can't use any of the tax credits, is there a way that, right now you estimate our cost would be 4.85 cents?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a way we can negotiate with the provider and give them the tax credits and get that 4.85 cents down even further, since we don't need it?
That would be challenging because the reason why we're at 4.85 cents right now is because we're taking the value of the tax credits. If you were to take the value of the tax credits away from us and give it to somebody else, that would actually increase the rate because we're losing that monetary value.
How long have you been in business?
We started in 2012, so this is our 7th year, 6th, 7th year.
So anytime you get into something like this where you're on the cutting edge, the concern is 25-year contract. Are you going to be around in 25 years?
Sure, certainly. That is.
LED companies, I deal with customers all the time that are, had bought LEDs 5 years ago. They're burning out. Company's out of business because Bob in his garage made a bunch of LEDs, strapped them to a piece of tin, and threw them up on a. How do we know before we make some type of arrangement, that, you know, you're gonna be around, this is gonna be around. Give us some sense of your growth, where have you been, where you going?
Sure. And actually, this is unique timing for that. We're actually holding our company meeting right now. I just came from it earlier today. Yesterday and today, we had all of our branches here in Illinois to do our company meeting.
many
and our
branches?
growth. 3 branches. So Indiana, Illinois, and Nebraska. We're on the verge of launching our 4th in Colorado. So the growth has been pretty substantial over the last 3 or 4 years, just because of the viability, the visibility and the viability of solar with the costs coming down, and in turn with the incentives as well, the incentive program. So, Mr. President, I can't tell you in 25 years if we're still going to be a company. You know, it's hard for anybody to say in 25 years that it will be. But the unique thing about the solar system is once it's up and running, there's very little to maintenance to run it. We fully anticipate being around for the next 25 years, but if something were to happen, that system will most likely function on its own, or you could hire somebody else to come in and maintain it, but you're still going to get the value from the energy produced.
So if you by some freak of nature went out of business, we would take ownership of the,
It would likely be sold to whoever the financier is or another company to maintain the system, but if we default on our contract, it would go to you, the owner.
How dependent are you on these tax credits?
The tax credits are a large portion of why this financial return is so lucrative. The nice thing,
I was gonna say, are you concerned with, you know, the IRS? Who knows, they could, you know, change the tax law tomorrow on
sure,
this.
sure, yeah, it's a good question. This is all current and in law today. We've talked with, we're business partners with the Illinois Solar Energy Association and the national organization as well. They have a great relationship with the current administration. There's no talk at all of changing the tax code as it relates to the tax credits for solar. They do start to phase out at the end of 2019. So at the end of next year, the 30% tax credit will start to step down and phase out. But I don't see anything changing between now and then.
what percent of your business is commercial versus residential?
It's about 60% residential, 40% commercial. So it's a pretty good split.
So in layman's terms, okay, we pay $100 a month in electricity. Okay, just for simple math. You come in here, you install this whole thing. You say it's for free. Doesn't cost us anything for the installation.
Correct.
You have all the costs and everything like that. Our bill, I wanna make sure I'm looking at this right, will be reduced to
$70.
or 40 or 50, 40? You said it was 40?
So in that
30%
example,
savings.
yeah, so let's say today you're paying $100 for your bill and you decide to move forward with the solar. Once that's installed, you'll get a $20 bill from your current utility provider and a $50 bill from us. So that's, when you total those, it's $70. So you just went from $100 a month to $70 a
Right,
month.
so we are paying you
Correct.
something.
Yep, correct. So just like you pay your current utility provider.
You're paying them for the base energy and all the peak stuff, the high demand stuff, you're still gonna pay ComEd or Constellation or whoever that is.
Correct, yep,
But you're gonna basically save 30%.
yep, that's exactly right.
And then I think I read in your original presentation, the one, at least the one we received, you talked about that you're gonna be responsible for all the installation, anything that could happen with the installation, all our roof warranties. I mean, we have a new building, so
Right.
there's a lot of other things there that we're dealing with.
Sure.
Because you're gonna be invading, you know, or penetrating,
Right.
you know, a nice roof that doesn't leak right now.
Well, let me clarify that. The best time to do solar is when you have a new roof. So we actually just put a new roof on our office in Palatine. We put solar on as soon as the roof was complete. We have a couple pictures, James, or who's ever controlling. If you want to go to actually the very end of the presentation, there's some pictures of actual installs. But there are no roof penetrations. Everything is ballasted, meaning that's perfect right there. This is a shot of the system on our roof at our office. So nothing penetrates the new roof. It's held in place by the concrete ballast blocks.
Okay.
So we're not roofers, and we don't want the liability of leaking for the roof. So if there was a need for the penetration, we would have a roofer, whoever did your roof likely, partner with us to take care of that penetration.
What's the warranty on our current roof at maintenance?
I think it's 15 workmanship and 2025 for materials. It's EPDM.
So theoretically, we could run into a roof issue.
With the system on the roof?
Just, no.
Oh, just without
Forget
it?
about this system.
Yes,
We could run
theoretically,
into a
yes.
roof issue prior to 25 years of this.
Yes.
If that happens, who's responsible for moving all this stuff out of the way so that we can repair the roof? And when we move the stuff, you're probably gonna lose energy during that time because it's not gonna be optimally designed. Who's gonna, is that come back to us as in lack of energy produced? And then do we have to pay you to come out and optimize the system again?
Sure, it's a great question. One thing I'll start with is that if you look at this roof, solar on top of your roof is actually going to protect your roof because you're not going to get the weatherization as it would if there was nothing. So the hail, the snow, the wind, the rain, it's actually the brunt of that is going to be taken by the solar panels. So whatever your warranty of the roof is right now, you'll actually get you'll get a lot longer life because the solar panels are going to be taking the weathering. If you did need to patch or repair a portion of the roof, the nice thing is these are ballasted, they're not mechanically fastened, so you can easily disconnect a portion of the system, move it off to the side, and do the repairs that you need. We'd be happy to work with you on that. The labor is something that we would quote you ahead of time so that you would know exactly what it would be, but that would be your cost for the labor to remove that portion. But the nice thing is they're easily accessible and easily movable without the mechanically fastened.
Any other questions? Eric? Thank you very much, Eric.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Tony, you here?
Tony's not here, but Paul is here.
Paul from GEC?
Well, yeah, my name is Paul Kalis, and we're for the co-op that you're a member of, should I go to the microphone?
Yes, please.
Okay. For the energy co-op for the district is the Illinois Intergovernmental Utilities Purchasing Co-op.
Yep.
Okay, IUPC. And we are the energy consultant for the IUPC. And so we, for instance, you talked about your electric bills from Constellation Energy, natural gas bills from Constellation Energy. That's what we do. We go out and we bid that out, and that has ended up being the provider for your energy commodities. Natural gas and electric are both currently Constellation Energy. It used to be Integris Energy. But anyway, so that's what we do, and then we also help the members of the co-op to do other things. Solar is one, and so General Energy, Tony Joswell, the company is the preferred provider for this kind of a project. We do other things. You might, there's Tony right here. I just started here. Tony, would you like to make the presentation here? I was just introducing myself as the energy consultant for the co-op.
Sure.
And then they can click that through, I think. James does.
Okay.
Click that.
I printed out some copies, but I guess we'll just
I think they got
review it. Okay. Bram, you wanna come up? So thank you for the opportunity,
If you could talk into the mic so
Oh,
that people
sure.
at home can hear you. Please.
Thank you for the opportunity to present, this proposal. And, Bram, you want to introduce our company?
I'm the founding president of General Energy Corporation. We have been in business for last 33 years. We started off in 1985. And we are mechanical electrical engineers, and we have been very much right from the beginning involved in sustainability and renewable energy. We have a number of very prominent customers, and we are one of the first ones who designed a building which was a zero energy building. It was in Glenview, IPTI Center, which is a small prairie, and it is the Prairie Center. it became very popular with a lot of school districts. And so, we had the first solar plant. At that time, the solar was very, very expensive. It was almost like $12 a watt at that time. So, but anyway, we got them some, relief by getting some renewable energy grants. So since then, we have been, very active in solar energy and also wind energy. We'll give you some of the projects and some of the clients now. Can you go on?
You go to the next slide?
Yeah, next slide. Well, this gives you a little bit about our commitment and our mission. We are basically, very responsive for our quality of work, and we have done a variety of services in sustainability. We can go to the next slide. Established in 1985, licensed to practice in a number of states. So we have done a lot of work in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan. We have got comprehensive experience in energy efficiency studies and implementation. We do a lot of turnkey implementation work. We have been involved with the number of awards. You can see, we have received over a period of 33 years. They are mostly related to energy efficiency and sustainability design. You can go to the next slide. Now, this is the zero energy building which I was talking about. This is a EPTI center, which is located in Glenview. It used to be the naval station, and part of it has become a prairie. And this is a small building, which provides it is kind of a training center for the prairie, and also it has become a center for renewable energy because we have got a geothermal system. 1/3 of the roof is PV system, and 2/3 of the roof is green roof. So we had all kind of frills in the system, so that state-of-the-art controls, state-of-the-art lighting controls. At that time, LED was not very popular. This is about, we're talking about close to about, I would say 12 years ago. So, and we have, we can go to the next slide. We have done, we were in-house energy management company for Argonne National Lab. We worked with them for about 25 years, and we must have done more than 50 projects. We developed the project for them, did all this initial study, and then we got them funding from Department of Energy. We had close to, at that time they had close to about 5 years payback criteria, that if any of the project is less than 5 years. So Argonne is a huge facility, about 2.5 to 3 million square feet. And we had, as an energy engineer, we had a field day because we could find so many things. Mm-hmm. And that's how we were able to work for about 20 years as an in-house energy management consultant. Can you move to the next slide?
What departments at Argonne do you predominantly work with?
They call it facilities engineering.
Yeah.
So that's for the department.
I mean, they work through engineering.
I worked there for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we work with the facility engineering. Okay. So
That's
some of our other clients, we have got some. You remember that there was up to 1996, there was a program which was instituted by the Congress for providing matching funds grants for energy studies and energy implementation projects for the public schools and hospitals and other institutions like universities and community colleges. So we participated in that grant, and as a part of that, we have done a lot of work all over Illinois school system. As a matter of fact, in this district, we work with District 70, almost all these schools. We worked on these studies and design, engineer, energy management systems. District 211, we must have gone to all the 5 high schools. Even Mount Prospect Heights, all the 7 high schools. We did studies and worked on that. So we have got a tremendous amount of experience working with public schools and facilities. So here we are. Can go to the next slide. We have teamed up with another. We provide turnkey services, so we have teamed up with the contractors who are very reputable for solar projects, and we have arrangement with suppliers and of the various components like solar panels, inverters, racking systems, and all that. So we provide complete range of services, and we work with a reputable contractor by the name C&E Solutions. They are located in Lake County, close by. So they are our partners, strategic partners, who we work with them. What you want to take over?
So next slide. Yeah, one before that. So, this is Libertyville, elementary school, that project that was recently completed. And, this is obviously rooftop solar. It's about 200,000 square feet. So this was completed by our team. This is within the past 2 years. And then a slide before that, it was the middle school as well. So this was also completed by our team, just locally. One thing to keep in mind, we're a nationwide company, right? So we have offices in Texas, in the East Coast as well. So we've done projects all over the U.S., with solar, but solar was never attractive here in Illinois just due to the incentives that were out there, not very attractive incentives. But just this year or last year, they passed a new legislation offering more incentives. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. It has made solar a lot more attractive. So a lot of our customers that we did, energy conservation projects for LED lighting or, HVAC projects, came back to us and said, hey, can you look at us for solar to see what kind of paybacks, we can get. So we've been heavily involved in solar as of late. So this is a good opportunity, basically for everyone to take advantage of and get the benefits of these incentives that they're offering. So if you go over to the next slide. Yeah, one more. So it's kind of just what I talked about. So this was the bill that was passed, Senate Bill 2814. So they're providing 15 years worth of SRECs in 5 years. And then the ComEd incentive is $250 per kilowatt. The federal tax incentive, 30% of the project cost, which actually you won't be eligible for since you're a not-for-profit. And then you could also do accelerated depreciation, which obviously you can't take advantage of as well. But with all that said, this project is still going to be pretty attractive for you guys to take a look at, which we'll go through on the next slides. So what we looked at here.
The common incentive of $250 per kilowatt generated or per kilowatt deferred?
So that's the per kilowatt system size. So.
It is a nameplate for that.
So you're taking it out of their system, so they're gonna pay you $250 for taking X amount of kilowatts off their.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. Exactly. So, for the rooftop project that we're proposing, it's an 87 kilowatt system, right? So, which is 87,000 watts. The panels that we're proposing are SolarWorld. One thing to keep in mind, quality is very important, especially with solar. There's a lot of junk out there, especially from overseas. There's very cheap panels coming into the market. They claim it's a 25-year warranty, but a lot of times they only last, not even 5 years. So the panels that we're proposing, it's USA made, by SolarWorld. They just got bought out by SunPower. There's 25-year warranty on the panels. The racking system we're using is Unirec. 25-year warranty on the racking system as well. And the inverters, Tripower, there's good reputable companies. We've learned over time, that obviously, quality, you pay a premium price, but quality is also, important as well. And, we've been around for over 35 years. There's not a lot of companies that can say they've been doing solar for so long. And, I think that's why we've survived for so long, just because we've put quality first. And like I said, the warranty on the inverters is 20 years. And this is going to be a ballasted system, right? So we're not penetrating the roof at all. I'm sure you guys are, aware of that. It's very simple. So let's say 20 years from now, you decide to change your roof, you could actually, take off the solar panels and reattach them, without any issues. So one thing to keep in mind is this is what we're proposing is a full turnkey proposal, right? So that includes everything from permits. There's a lot of paperwork involved with the incentives that are out there, so we'll take care of all the incentive paperwork. Obviously the engineering, structural, electrical, and then obviously the cost of all the material, equipment is also included. So any questions so far?
Yeah. James, I got a question for you. Presentation 1 talked about 125 kilowatts being generated. Presentation 2 is 87 kilowatts. It's 30% difference. Significant difference in the amount of energy generated.
How many panels are you putting on?
So the system size is 87. The reason why we're below 100 kilowatts is because you get a higher SREC rate for a below 100 kilowatt system. So you actually get more incentives. It makes it more cost effective.
And one of the things which we are basing on the Google Maps and everything, so we are, there are going to be some change in the size as we go into the detailed engineering. But whatever we have done is we want to make sure that we have got the proper setbacks and the size is okay, and then we want to stay below 100 because of the fact it doesn't mean that we can go up to 99 if there's a capacity need, so that we can still make use of higher rate of SRECs. So that is one of the reasons. Final capacity will be determined after doing a complete detailed engineering survey, because there could be some reason, there could be some shading factors which have to be taken into account, which we don't see it, we don't see what if there's any equipment on the roof, so that is not very clear. So we have to play a conservative or approximate role right now to come up with their capacity. So this is what we have really, and we use the software, standard software to determine all the sizing and everything.
So besides all the safety factor, the main reason to answer your question is for the higher incentive rate for the SRECs. So, next slide. So this is just what Prem mentioned. We used a sophisticated software to create, what the system size is going to be. We generated all the incentives based off of the current SREC rates, the ComEd incentives, and then all the equipment is made in USA, and then obviously it says the actual size may change depending on the final engineering and layout that's done after the project is rewarded. So that's the financial data. The total price of the project is $191,400, so which is about $2.20 per watt, right? We're also including 5 years of maintenance. And we do quarterly visits to make sure everything is functioning properly. There's no issues with any other system. And the incentives that we talked about, the ComEd incentive, $250 per kilowatt, comes out to be about $21,750. The total SREC amount, are you guys familiar with SRECs? You are, okay. The total SREC amount, $127,265. So they're paying 15 years worth of SRECs, over 5 years. And then the total sum of all three items, all three rebates, is $149,000. So the net project cost, $42,385, but obviously the SREX is not just that 1 year, right? It's spread out. It's about $25,000 a year. And then the solar power generation is $111,250 per kilowatt hour, so that's done on an annual basis. And then the current rate that you pay for electricity, looking at your, we reviewed your electric data, is 8 cents. So based off of the current rate, all-in rate, you would be saving about $8,900 a year annually. So then the final payback is about 4.76 years. Simple payback. So next slide.
So,
Want to add something?
Yeah. So our cost, then, we have to write a check for $42,000, is that what you're saying?
Well, you have to write a check for $191,000, right? But the incentives, after factoring in the incentives, I mean, so
we get all those incentives even though we are not for profit and. Okay.
yeah, and
So-
you want to talk about the SREX?
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind, the SREX, the way we've estimated here is what the current market value is, right? But that might change depending on when you move forward with the project and, what the SREC amount gets awarded at. Once we fill out all the applications with the IPA, there's something you want to add to it?
Right, so SRECs naturally are for 15 years, and there's a small depreciation of capacity which happens at the rate of about 3% that has been taken into account, so that the total power generation will be slightly going down as the year passes because there is the depreciation which happens in all the panels. So we have taken that into account, and based on that, we have come up with a conservative number. Now this is based on the previous year's data. It could change because it is a number fixed by IPA, Illinois Power Authority. So we have no control on it. So what we are doing here is we are fixing the rate of the per watt capacity of $2.20. Whatever adjustment in the cost will be made on that rate. Say, for example, if we come up with a final engineering, the capacity of more than 87 kilowatt, then our cost will go in that proportion. If we come up with less, then our cost will go down in the same proportion, $2.20 per watt. So that adjustment will be done on that per watt rate. We can go to the next slide. There are some financial options also available. I would say that you can really, have some leasing for 5 years lease arrangement. We have worked out some numbers for that, preliminary numbers. There are companies like Neosys we worked with that they can provide some numbers, and we can go to the next slide. So
this is basically says
lease option.
Lease option is right.
Have you guys decided which way to?
Not yet.
move forward with? Okay.
Right. So the lease option will cost you about maybe $2,000 a month, approximately.
Yep.
And what, after 60 months, we buy it out for $1 or something like that?
Yeah.
Right. So schedules and availability, we expect that some Illinois RFP will be issued sometimes in September for SRECs. That's when we want to submit our that was supposed to be in August, but it looks to me that it has moved to September now. So we hopefully we want that our schedule should be set that if we get your approval by the end of this month, then we can really be ready to submit our request for SRECs and can provide and be first be in line ahead of people before they run out of.
First come, first serve, right,
Yes.
for the SRECs.
And the other design, may take about 5 to 6 months. That can all be adjusted depending upon the weather conditions and everything. But general rule of is that it may take. And I think that one of the advantage that you got a new roof, new building, relatively. So I don't think there's going to be much problem, and it is relatively a small project. So I think that we can beat the date. We can even do it faster.
Very good.
So any more questions?
James?
Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just mention one thing, in our experience and as an energy consultant, I mean, we're not an engineering company, we don't do this work, but we help other members of the co-op with their current in-operation solar, operations. And it is a little complicated. I will tell you, you have to choose the right rider. You have to negotiate with ComEd, and they're not easy to deal with.
Right.
You never get an answer. You have to deal with Constellation Energy, and we're in the middle of that. So I just want to let you know, so there's another layer here that we take care of for the members of all the co-op members, and anybody in any energy situation, whether it be natural gas, electricity, or any kind of renewable. We're in the middle of it, so then if we need to get an answer from ComEd or from General Energy, we're the main contact person. So I just want to bring that to your attention. We're in the middle of this from multiple locations every day of the week.
And that's for whomever we may choose in whatever direction we may go.
No, for General Energy,
Yeah, for General Energy.
they are the provider, they are the preferred provider for your co-op.
For the co-op, okay.
Yes,
Very good.
okay? Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Is Aaron here? I think he's sitting out in the hallway. Next, we would invite to the thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
I'd like to invite to the podium, Aaron, if you want to come up here. Sure. From Train Solar. Aaron Rafferty.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Come on, both.
Extras for your file.
Not a problem. If you could pull the mic up to your
Sure.
face and
Introduce myself as well. This is the group, right? So my name's Aaron. I'm a account manager.
hold on 1 second, Aaron.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
No problem.
Watching the videos.
Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess, first of all, thank you for having me here tonight on pretty short notice. My name is Aaron Raftery. I'm an account manager for Train, Ingersoll Rand. And for this program, what that means is I would be your main point of contact throughout, both in these early stages and throughout the program period. So I'm going to try and move pretty quickly. These are the topics I want to touch on. I'm going to talk a little bit about just the new solar incentive program itself. I know you've seen multiple vendors tonight, so if there's overlap, then I would just say cut me off and we can move past it. Then we're going to talk a bit about our value proposition given this new incentive program. And then we're going to talk about if this is something you do want to potentially pursue, what that would look like. We'll talk about getting started. And then I'd prefer you just to interrupt me at any given moment if you have questions or if you want to talk about something further. Okay, so the new program. So this is a very exciting time right now in Illinois for anyone that's at all interested in solar. And that's because of this piece of legislation that was passed back in December of 2016. This is a huge piece of legislation of which the solar program was only one small part of it, but that's what we're here to talk about tonight. The solar part was involved with a statewide increase in the amount of power that comes from renewable energy sources. And in order to get all that extra solar and wind power, it also called out for a new incentive program, right, in order to make these projects financially justifiable. Public sector, one thing of note, public sector agencies actually qualify for higher incentives compared to other private sector entities. And a key aspect of the program design is that the incentives decrease over time as the program gets closer and closer to hitting its goals. So there's been a lot of uncertainty regarding program launch, but we do now know that the program is going to open up to applications in January. And because of the very, what's been described as the pent-up demand in this market, because it's been so hard to justify historically, they're expecting a real heavy volume of applications at the time of program launch. And they've created a lottery system in order to offer some consumer protection against kind of deviant behavior associated with getting first in line with your application, because that's actually happened in some other markets where they had a similar program offering. So what that means is that in order to even have a shot at the highest incentive amounts that are awarded at the time of program launch, there's a need to get ahead of the program and have your application ready to go at the time of program launch or within the first 30 to 40 days of program launch. Any questions there? No?
We're good.
Okay. All right, and so what we're seeing, we've known the incentives since early July, what the incentive structure is going to be and what the dollar amounts, and we've done some business case scenarios for other public sector agencies. And what we're seeing is very, very lucrative financial justifications because of how high the incentive amounts are. So we've got two examples here. I don't have the customer names because these actually aren't under contract yet. They're going in front of boards next month. But we've got systems, it's pretty sizable systems where the incentives are between 75 and 80% of the total project cost. And in both cases, we're looking at different financing mechanisms, but the key point now is that Trane Ingersoll Rand has no preference as far as financing mechanisms, right? That's something that we could, whether capital's used, whether traditional financing used, whether power purchase agreement, we would work with you on evaluating all of those options once all the information is known. All right, so now I've got a couple slides that I'll go through quickly just about the value that we feel that we bring to the local market in this program. So this slide I would just summarize by saying that we're a very large organization that's been around for a very long time, and we're extremely credible and really a global leader in the sustainability industry. So I think there's lots of benefits there, but at the very least, there's stability and longevity to support these types of potentially long-term contracts. The other thing is we have a very, very strong commitment to this Chicagoland market. We have about 250 employees, and we do about $150 million that's completely independent of this solar program, right? So if this solar program turns out to be a little bit of a bubble, which I think it probably will be, I don't know how long it's going to last, but it's probably not going to last 10 years, right? It's not going to be a real long-term thing. We're going to be here in this market to support any contracts that we put in place while the program and while the incentives are available. The other one is experience. So we do a lot of solar as a company. So we haven't been doing much in Illinois just because it's been very difficult to financially justify, and we haven't done it ourselves here. But we have been participating in the other areas of the country where it has been possible to justify, really coast to coast within, again, those markets where it's made sense. We've also been doing it at our own plants. We have a lot of facilities ourselves. We've been doing it at our own plants within these markets that make sense. Not in Illinois, but we're in the same place you guys are right now in terms of potentially getting ahead of the program launch. And then on the federal side, we have a contract with the Department of Energy that any federal agency can use specifically for energy savings programs, including renewables, and that's taken us really all over the world with very, very large deployments. So we've got a lot of solar experience, and the value there is that we're going to take this experience in these other mature markets and bring it to the Illinois market in order to help early adopters of solar make informed decisions. And the other here is just purchasing power. I mean, there is some benefits there with this kind of volume, but that will help drive down some costs on the procurement side of this project. All right, so this is actually a big one for us. So this is a big part of the reason why we're even here, offering these types of sustainability programs for local government entities, is because Ingersoll Rand's 10-year vision is to make our brand synonymous with sustainability. One of the ways we do that is through these types of sustainability program partnerships, right? Where there's the financial benefit and there's the environmental benefit, but there's also the social benefit around them associated with engaging with your communities, messaging to them all about the program, the benefits, the reasons why you're doing it, right? If it's something you ultimately decide to do. There's media opportunities there, and then also wider PR. There's early adopters within this program are going to establish themselves as leaders in the area, and there's lots of opportunity there for public relations that we would be very interested in supporting you on. So again, kind of looking at this really from a long-term perspective as more of a partnership model. So the last one is speed. So we have a cooperative procurement mechanism through U.S. Communities, which for these types of guaranteed savings programs, which you guys are a registered user of. I'm not real familiar. I'm not sure how familiar the board is with this program. Key general idea of cooperative procurement in general, right, is aggregating the purchasing power of many in order to drive down costs for the individual agencies. So this contract was advertised as a $100 million contract. We bid it as such. We won the contract, and now we're bringing this to local government entities on much smaller scale projects, but again, getting that best possible pricing. And supported, so we've been doing cooperative procurement for about 2 decades. We switched all of our contracts over to U.S. Communities a few years ago because there's a lot of credibility there with that organization. So the benefits there is streamlined procurement, right? It actually gives you a shot at potentially getting an application ready, but clearly increasing the competitiveness of the procurement and making sure you get best possible pricing. And again, you are a registered user of U.S. Communities. All right, so right now when I'm working with public sector agencies, I'm giving them information to an extent, and then helping kind of separate into 2 groups. Ones that want to potentially pursue the tier 1 incentive amounts, and then ones that don't have the capability to, because maybe they don't have fast decision-making capabilities. If you're in that latter category, then what I would probably say is wait till the program launches and the chaos that ensues, things stabilize, and then see if we have visibility into how long the program will be available. What I have here is if you are in the first camp, where it's actually something that you want to potentially consider for early adoption with those tier 1 incentives. So for us, there's a lot of development work that needs to be done on this project in order to get the application ready to go. We would be willing, and there's a lot of risk associated with not knowing what the actual incentives are going to be until we've submitted and entered that lottery. So Trane is willing to take on the risk over the next few months associated with getting the development going. But this is what that would look like. So the green light for us to get started on the development would be a decision to use this U.S. Communities contract and select us as the program provider, right? That would be about all you would be committing to at that time. There would be a lot of cancellation terms in that associated with the final outcome of those incentives, of ability to lock in those incentives. And then we'd move forward with developing the project over the next few months. All the requirements that the program has for applications, submit for the lottery, find out what our actual incentive amount is, and then at that time, we'd work with you guys on the final program details. So you're probably looking at sometime early next year, I'd imagine. So that things like ownership structure, financing mechanism, if you want to finance, right, all of that would be things that we would recommend deciding at that time frame. And I think that's all I have. How'd I do?
Any questions
Little
for?
bit.
Yeah, you had made an interesting comment earlier. You said that you thought this was a bubble.
Yeah.
Why, I mean, the solar part or the incentive part? Obviously, the incentive part,
The incentive part. So I'm not speaking of the long-term reliability of the systems you put in place, right, for those that are able to capture the incentives now. I'm talking about how long the incentive program itself is available.
It's the same thing they're doing with LEDs.
Yeah.
There was an initial push to go LEDs, and then as people adopted, they started picking the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
And now they're starting to go away, and
Yep.
we're down to a couple bucks per bulb, and
Yep.
that'll be going away in a year or two, so.
Yep.
They incentivize the heck out of it to try to get people into it.
well, to get first.
And once you
Right.
get the first early
Yeah.
adopters,
Early adopters.
then everybody else falls on board, and that's where you can start to wean off, because now it becomes a viable technology for everybody to participate in.
That way the costs go down and make it viable,
Exactly.
financially viable without the incentives.
Well, the other big side of this that I don't think we want to go down this path, but the only reason why ComEd conceded on allowing this program to take place is this big piece of legislation that I mentioned at the beginning. It was a bailout for 2 nuclear plants for them. So they've conceded to allow this solar program to exist until they reach a certain percentage of their load being provided from solar. And then they're gonna go back to.
So you
know,
can't
people-
give us any numbers or cost savings until we get into this lottery and whether we win any of the lottery rebates or incentives or whatever it is?
So I mean, I can give you like a business case type of analysis. I can tell you, we can give you numbers, but what we can't do is tell you exactly what it'll be, because of the uncertainty regarding if 75% of those costs are being covered through the incentives, that's a substantial variable. So we can tell you our best guess today, assuming we secure this tier 1 incentives, and that's the financials that I touched on briefly for some other customers. So we can certainly do similar types of analyses, but it's more just going to be a case to give you kind of an order of magnitude. Is this something that makes sense to pursue? And in my experience, looking at other customers, the answer to that is yes, if you have the available real estate. If you don't have you don't have a place to put the panels, then it's going to be a challenge. But if you do, then you're going to be able to provide a financial justification for the project.
And if we go through this whole process and we don't get these incentives,
Yep.
do we just walk away, or what's the deal?
Not necessarily, no. Not necessarily. There's the lower tier incentive. So maybe maybe we weren't able to lock in the highest possible incentives, but maybe there's still a business case there for the slightly
So the
lower.
payback would just be longer and.
The term could be, the payback could be a little longer, or the financing term might need to be a little longer. That's why, we are willing to be the ones to take on that risk though, right? So there would need to be some collaboration over in the coming months as far as where we put these panels, and, there would need to be some collaboration, but we would be doing the heavy lifting, right? It would be a turnkey type of offering that we'd be providing. So we would have a lot of time and resources sunk in, but that is a risk we're willing to take right now on a
So
few.
I'm assuming Tran must be under the impression that they're gonna be able to collectivize X number of contracts, and so if we don't get the low-hanging fruit, somebody else will, and
to an extent,
overall, Train will still.
To an extent, well, not really, actually. To be honest, we're not. This isn't a big effort right now for us. So Ingersoll Rand is extremely risk averse. So we are taking on that risk for a few projects, or willing to take on that risk for a few projects, but it's not something big that we're scaling up at this point. We would want to wait until the conditions stabilize before we develop the overall go-to-market strategy in Illinois.
Any other questions? Aaron, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in terms of just direction, I mean, you've heard from a few vendors tonight, so, I think probably Dave, as a president, maybe just, consult with your colleagues over the next.
I was gonna say, how long would you guys need to digest everything?
Just to provide some direction to James or I and how you want to proceed and.
I'll be honest with you, I mean,
Yeah.
the presentations were so different in the methodology that I would almost like, I trust staff, and I would almost like somebody to digest this a little more for me and summarize it, because I don't know without, and I guess I could with given a few hours, but again, you know, you've got 3 proposals here that one is a 25-year whatever, one is a 5-year with a payback that's quicker, and one is, we don't have numbers yet. How do you sit down and compile and decide?
Let James and I then just kind of circumvent all the presentations that kind of key points, but certainly if any of the
I
commissioners
mean,
have
I have
some.
opinions on each company for other reasons, so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're responsible for the decision, but
Why don't we wait, why don't we take the weekend to digest it? Get back to me on Monday and let me know either questions or general thoughts. And then we'll compilate the board's feeling, communicate to Jeff and James will sort through our feelings and then come back to us. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
But
Yep.
on the last one, though, I mean, I really would like to see some numbers, some projections, even if we're just at we get the tier 1 incentives and not the whole gamut. You know. Okay.
yeah, and I think in order to put this together and compare apples to apples, we would almost need something.
The problem is
more
you're not.
than, yeah, you're a really great company and we trust that you're gonna do a good job, and so that's why we're gonna pick you.
The problem is you're comparing.
That's a lot to ask.
You're comparing apples, oranges, and peaches right
Yes.
now, so.
Well, I'm okay with the apples and peaches. You guys made it a little more, I mean, it's already 2 different proposals, but then to have the third one kind of be so general.
Yeah.
So, get back to me by Monday, and then we'll provide direction. You and James can sort it out, get back to us.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you all very much for the presentations, greatly
thank you.
appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is the W.W. Granger invoice payable. Could I have a motion to approve the W.W. Granger invoice payable in the amount of $206.52?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Blue? Yes. Commissioner Meline?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer?
Abstain. All right, moving to reports and communication. If there's anything urgent that we need to know about that you want to call out, we'll just go through these very quickly. Executive Director Fugero.
Just the RibFest summary which you have before you tonight at the dais. That was just updated this afternoon. So thanks to everybody for your efforts and those of you who came out and the staff and, you know, Jack and Tom that spearheaded it, our Parks Department. I mean, I can go on, but to me, you know, probably the most enlightening thing of the weekend is just the amount of, I think, Vernon Hills people that come out, and there's certainly a lot of Vernon Hills people that come out, and just the unification of our staff that, you know, volunteer to come out and work the event is really something to me that's enlightening. So, and it's always good to see a decent surplus. The amount that we looked at is just a little, you know, over $9,000, which, if Tom was here, he'd tell you is going to help probably 15 families in Vernon Hills that we can provide financial assistance to. And that's really, I think, the essence and the foundation of why we do this event at the end of the day. On top of, you know, it's a good time, it's a fun time for people. So thanks to all the continued support from the board on this annual event. That's all I have.
Questions for Jeff? Finance HR Superintendent Marla?
I'll just give one quick blurb that kind of goes with Jeff was saying about scholarships for families. I'm working on this kind of new P-card consortium with MB Bank and a number of local park districts to put our buying power together and to increase our rebate in our P-card program, which in turn gives us more money for scholarships. So I think it'll be a great program. I'll know more in the next couple months.
You know, maybe just Well, Marlo just brought that up. I think just for the sake of public, you know, with the P-card issue, I think is becoming a little bit of a hot button in government. None of our board members. Well, none of our board members carry a P-card. So I want to make that clear to the general public that none of our elected officials have a P-card.
Or our finance superintendent.
Or, yeah.
Essentially, we've got a checks and balances system set up throughout.
Correct.
And that is not
And
going
the
to
same way operates through any procurement cards that staff have. There are a number, and when I say number, I'm somewhere between like at minimum of 3 or 4 individuals that have to sign off on every expense. And that's a process that is really drilled into us by our auditing firm as well. So I want the board to know from just a policy procedure standpoint, procurement standpoint, that we have our checks and balances in order for the general public to know.
All right. Marketing and Communications Manager, Cheryl?
I just wanted to say thanks to all the families that came out Tuesday night for our Chalk the Walk. We had a really large turnout. It was very fun. We had, we were able to walk around the pavilion. It's all chalked up with pretty pictures and words of positive words. So just thanks to all the families who came out.
That was very
And
cool.
How many, Cheryl, come up?
We had over 50.
50 people came out.
That was very cool. Very cool. Lakeview Facility Manager, Mark Purcell?
The pool and spa area will open tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. They had a schedule. And we have a promotion coming up September 1st called 60 Days Promotion. It's free to our members. If you come 60 times in September through December 31st, you get a free month of membership. And for residents, it costs $60, so it works out to $1 a visit. And they would get a free month of membership. So it's a pretty good deal.
So the spa area is opening up. Are we going to push that out? Because I just got something today saying it wasn't. Pool
I
opening?
sent out an email.
Pool
I sent out
opening?
an email yesterday saying that the pool was opening tomorrow, spa on Saturday.
Right.
I found out this morning that the spa will be ready a day earlier, so I emailed out again that it will be opening tomorrow.
Got the one, didn't get today's.
Okay.
So, thank you very much. Go backwards. Park Superintendent James. James, you got anything pressing that we need to share?
No, I do not, just whatever's in my report.
All right. Commissioner Committee reports, we have none. Board correspondence, we have none. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Blue.
Nothing.
Commissioner Moline.
I've made enough comments today.
Commissioner Robbins.
Nothing.
And for myself, on behalf of the board, thank you to staff, thank you to the community. I thought Ribfest was phenomenal. I thought the bourbon went over very well. A lot of great comments about the vendors, about the way we treat. I heard so many times from residents that this is just the best event we have because it's just a laid-back, adult, really professionally well-done event. So thank you all very much. With that, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Meline?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Blue?
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer?
Yes, we are adjourned.